Alrighty, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the 10th episode of CC Sports Talk podcast. Don't mind all the baby stuff in the background with like the stuffed animals over here and the crib and stuff like that. Don't worry about it. It's like the most quiet room in the house, and so was filming in my son's room. But yeah, we have a lot to talk about today. We won't do the playoff preview yet. I think I'm gonna come out with that episode on Friday. But today we'll just talk about the college football playoff, national championship game. That was a great game. And there's a lot of storylines around some sports I want to talk about, especially with the NFL, with the Bills, and I feel like there's a lot of drama, a lot of stuff coming out of there, which don't like to look at that at all. Um, they're all just blaming Sean McDermott, which I don't think it's a lot of his fault, but I'll get into it. And then we have some college basketball stuff and some uh, maybe if we get to it, some NBA stuff. But yeah, we'll start off with the college football playoff national championship. Indiana 27, Miami 21. That was a great game. I mean, one of the better national championships I think in recent memory. I don't even remember who played last year. Oh, Notre Dame and Ohio State, and Notre Dame won, and kind of killed them. And then Notre Dame started coming back at the end. But yeah, so Miami played a lot better than I thought they would. I knew it would maybe be close, but I wouldn't think it would be that close and that nerve wracking. But their defense is so good. Both defenses played very very well, very very physical, really complete units. I know a lot of people say Miami secondary wasn't very good, but I thought they were pretty good. I didn't think they were that bad. Definitely got away with a lot of penalties, but I'm okay with that. Especially the roughing the passers. I thought they had like four roughing the passers on Mendoza, but I think that was their game plan to try to get under Mendoza's skin. But Mendoza just stay composed. He's tough as nails. I didn't know he was that tough. I know he's taken some big hits in the past against Iowa and Ohio State, and he just got right back up. But he took some big hits, especially the one where he got a bloody lip and nose. A lot of people didn't see that one. He got like a big cut in his nose right here after that hit. But yeah, I mean, Mendoza just showed why he's the number one pick. I think in those games where it's tough, both defenses are good. Mendoza's getting killed. Their offensive line wasn't holding up too well. Even though they have a really good offensive line, that just showed how good Miami's defensive line was with Mesidor and Bain. Bain kept jumping off sides, but and they'll both be first round picks. Mesidor may be a second round pick, I heard, but Bain will be like a top 5, top 10 pick for sure. That guy's an animal. That guy's a freak. And the whole defense line's good, especially that guy in the secondary, Scott. But yeah, I thought Mendoza showed a lot of guts, a lot of balls. Especially on that 4th and 4 where he ran it in, he got hit a couple times and he extended the goal line. Then as he was getting extended, a lot of people aren't talking about this. He got nailed too, and he just got right back up, kept going. And those back shoulder throws, those are NFL throws right there. Those are throws you can't really teach. And he just had them. He had a special touch on them. That Becker guy adjusted the ball, made some great catches, but Mendoza also put it in the perfect spot where only his receiver can get it. And Indiana's running backs are real. I mean, both teams they both have really good running backs, good receivers. Obviously, Carson Beck is nothing close to Mendoza. I think Carson Beck's terrible, but he played okay in the playoff. He played good in the second half until the interception that ended the game. But yeah, I mean, what Indiana has done these last 2 years is unbelievable. Last year I thought they were kind of full of crap, and Kurt Signetti was kind of the whole Google me and stuff like that comment. I was like, dude, who are you? Like, who do you think you are? But he backed it up, and I love the guy now. I think the guy's a great coach. He's entertaining. He, with the looks on the sidelines, stuff like that, the snarl and the glares and stuff like that. The guy's a great coach. And I think he'd be a pretty good NFL coach, even though he said he wouldn't go to the league. But the way he manages and the way he coaches just so good. It's like NFL like. But yeah, I mean Mendoza played a great game. I mean that if they didn't have that punt block, they might lose that game. But they've had like 8 punt blocks in the last 2 years, which is crazy. Their special teams is so dialed in. Their defense is so dialed in. That defensive coordinator is really good. Their Indiana's offensive coordinator is really good. They both should have head coaching jobs, but they didn't get interviewed or anything like that. So it's a matter of time until they get hired as head coaches. I guess they've been with Scinetti for a while now. They've been following him everywhere he goes, which is also a great story to see that. I don't know why I think that's shows a lot of loyalty and to Kurt Scinetti. But who would have thought you would have said to yourself, Indiana's national champions? Like, that's crazy. The most loser franchise in college football, and they won the national championship. And they're just going to keep getting better and better too, by the way. With this NIL and transfer portal, and none of this would be able to happen. No way would we would go to Indiana. And Kurt Scinetti wouldn't be able to flip it like he did. But yeah, I mean, now they have Mark Cuban as a big donor now, and these Big Ten schools compared to every other conference, they just have more alumni, more people there, bigger fan bases. That they're just gonna run the NIL now. The Big Ten, Miami's. They'll be good. They'll still be good in the next couple of years just because they have so much money. Cristobal is getting better as a coach. He was just kind of a good recruiter. Now he's kind of turning into a good coach. Look at Miami in the middle of the year compared to the end of the year. They got better and better and better and better and better. I thought Miami was trash. I thought Miami was terrible. But they have a good offensive coordinator. The defensive coordinator is good. Cristobal is a good coach. They just kept getting better and better and better. And if you keep getting better throughout the season, that shows how good your coaching is. And I thought they did a good job. I gotta give Miami a lot of credit. They just hung in there. They were down 10-0 at half. I mean, things weren't going their way. Offensively, they couldn't do anything. You saw Carson Beck's body language is terrible. He's getting frustrated, but they just hung in there. And that running back, Max Fletcher, that guy is a stud. Honestly, it reminds me of like a young Derrick Henry. He's big. He's like 6'2". I think he was 240. Oh no, 220. Sorry. He's so physical. He needs a couple guys to take him down. And I can say the same thing about the Indiana running backs. Hempy and Black were both super good running backs. They're tough. They're strong. I'm pretty sure they both got 1,000 yards, if not close to it. I think they're both old seniors too. But both teams are like super old. And that's a new thing in college football too. You don't have like these old teams like you used to. You never had these old teams ever. Now that you have transfer portal and NIL, players stay longer, so teams are more complete, better. And a lot of these guys can transition to the NFL easier because they're so old. They had so much experience in college, so they're like NFL light teams, but. Yeah, also this Indiana receivers were really, really good. Sarrett was really good. Omar Cooper, that guy's a stud. Becker, at the beginning of the year, I guess he was just a special teams player, but in the college football playoff, he was all over the place and great player. He was one of the only players that stayed after the Tim Allen was the coach there before Cignetti, and he didn't have much of a role this year, last year in the beginning of the role this year. And he just kept getting better, and turned to a real threat real reliable receiver for Mendoza. I think Mendoza, he could have crumbled in that. He had so much pressure on him with the Raiders there scouting him. It wasn't just like Mark Davis and the GM there, Spy Tech there watching him. Tom Brady was there too. I mean, that's just to see him play. I can see where it was a scenario where that would get to his head and be like, oh my God, that's a lot of pressure. But he just played good. He stuck in there. He was so tough, and that's something you got to see. Like that is how Tom Brady was too. He was just so tough. Whenever he get hit, he would get right back up, and Tom likes that. And I think it shows more about a quarterback if they have those tough games where they're fighting and they just keep going, and they, he didn't have like 200 yards passing. I think he only had 170 something. But I feel like all his passes that he completed were great plays, big passes, big gains, and and it shows more when you can fight and stay strong and keep going versus when you just blow somebody out 56-0. That doesn't really show you anything, even though it shows you your team's nasty and your team's good and stuff like that. But it shows more character when you can keep fighting and keep hanging in there, because in the NFL that's what it's gonna do. Every week you're gonna be getting hit, especially on the Raiders. You're gonna be getting hit every single week, and how do you respond? Do you crumble or do you keep going? And Mendoza just kept going, and not just the Raiders like that. Everybody likes that. You want a tough quarterback. What do you think especially as a dome team or a warm weather team, when you have to play in the playoffs or the late in the season when it's cold out, you need a tough quarterback, and I think Mendoza's that. Also Boston native. I mean, he lived in Miami for a while, but also lived in Boston. But yeah, I mean, that was a great game. It was very entertaining. I thought at the beginning, after it was like 10-0, you could tell the Indiana defense was playing very, very well. I thought maybe they would blow them out a little bit, but it turned into be a great game. But yeah. Um, let's talk about some of the Bills situation here. Things have kind of seemed like they've turned to, petty drama overnight. It seems like it's Mcdermott versus Bean and Pagula, the owner, Terry Pagula, and Brandon Bean, the GM. They just keep throwing shots and shots and shots at McDermott. I think they were upset that McDermott in the middle of the season said, "Hey, we don't have enough talent to win a Super Bowl. We need more Pro Bowl talent, All Pro talent." And supposedly that the Billy Bean and Pagula didn't take that well at all. And I mean, he's the coach of the team. I mean, I think he would know if his team has enough talent or not. I would have trusted the guy, but at the same time, like, Pagula and Billy Bean obviously have this close relationship where, the thing about the GM is that he could be eating popcorn, getting his Diet Coke and stuff like that with the owner and watching the game while all the pressure's on the coach during the game to make all the calls, call timeouts, all the responsibilities on him, and the GM can kind of just sit in the box and talk crap about him and all this stuff and say, this is not the guy and stuff like that, and get in the owner's ear. So that's why sometimes the GM retains their job. In this case, Billy Bean got promoted to president of the operation. I mean, he doesn't deserve that. And also, there's been rumors around where he's just a cap guy. He doesn't really know what he's doing other than the cap and financially, which I believe, obviously. And I don't like how today, or maybe it was yesterday, that they were talking about Keon Coleman, and Pagula interrupted Billy Bean and said, the coaching staff wanted Keon Coleman, but Billy Bean, that wasn't on the top of his list. So Billy Bean was being a team player and letting them get their guy. Like, come on, like, why are you throwing all that on the coach? That's just like petty little girl drama right there. Like, I don't agree with the way they're doing this. I mean, I think Sean McDermott's, we talked about this before. I think he's a good coach, not a great coach, but who else is out there that's better than him? And the people that they're interviewing right now, like Joe Brady, I understand, he's in the system. He became offensive coordinator, the offense got better. But Anthony Weaver, who? Defense coordinator Miami, the defenses were never that good. Anthony Lynn, the old coach for the Chargers back in the day in 2017, 16, 18, somewhere around there. And he was the leading candidate before they hired McDermott in 2017. He was a terrible coach. And he's a running back coach right now in Washington. Like, well, that wouldn't do anything. And supposedly Brian Daboll really wants the job, and they want Daboll. Like, I like Daboll. I'm a Daboll guy. I'm pro Daboll. I really like him. But I don't understand why you want an offensive coach. Josh Allen's the best quarterback in the league right now. He doesn't need an offensive coach. The problem with their team is the defense. Why wouldn't you want to get a defensive coach that stays there for a while, like Brian Flores or Jesse Minter, and I guess Anthony Weaver could do that, but I don't really see him as good as Minter and Flores. But I think they need a defensive coach because defense was their problem. Defense was the one giving them a hard time. Even though Josh Allen did turn over the ball last week, 4 times. They still scored 30 points, and they let Bo Nix score 33 points. You know, it just that can't happen. The problem is, I can see where maybe they did fire McDermott because the one thing I say about coaches is if you get your if you get your side of the ball wrong, if you're offensive coach or defensive coach, that's the sign maybe you're not a good coach. And Sean McDermott, yes, he's good at disguising defenses and stuff like that, but his side of the ball was not good, and you know that's a sign where maybe you're not the guy. And his timeouts weren't good and stuff like that. Like the way he managed the clock, I don't agree with. But he's a good coach. Maybe he's not. I don't know. I just don't think there are better options out there for the Bills. And now the way they're handling this is very, kind of douchey. To be honest with you, I just don't like the way they're handling business there. And I don't. At the end of the day, it is the Bills. They're a loser franchise. They don't do anything. They're nothing. But and I'm not just saying that because I'm a Patriots fan. Like that's the way they are. They find ways to lose every year that it's unheard of. But yeah, then they're going to interview that guy, the Jags offensive coordinator who just turned 30 years old. Like what is he going to do? What does he know? He's 30 years old. He just turned 30. I mean, Josh Allen might be just as old as him. Like I don't know. I don't agree with the way they're doing this. I don't like it. But that's football. That's pro sports for you. But yeah. Another thing I want to talk about was Mike McDaniel getting hired as a Chargers offensive coordinator. I like it. I like it. I like McDaniel as an offensive coordinator. He does kind of seem soft though, so that kind of goes with Herbert. Herbert's soft as well. But maybe Jim Harbaugh would get that knocked out of him. Even though I lost a little respect for Jim Harbaugh, he seems a little out of it. If you listen to his press conferences and stuff like that, and the way he coaches. When he coached in the playoff game this year against the Patriots, something seemed off. Really, something didn't seem right. But should be a good fit for them. I mean, he's definitely a warm weather type of coach and a dome team type of coach. And as soon as they go to cold weather, they probably won't win. But maybe he can get Herbert tougher. Maybe he does good there and gets hired as another head coaching job. I would like to see him maybe in Tampa or Detroit over the Chargers, but out of all those options, they have the better quarterback and the better team for sure over those other rosters. But I mean, the Lions definitely have a better roster than the Chargers probably, but they just play in the NFC where it's tougher. But yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a good fit for them. I'm excited to see if he unlocks Herbert a little bit. I like when good quarterbacks play good. I know Herbert's a good quarterback. He just needs to play good and play tougher and be better. But, maybe next year with his offensive line coming back, they'll be better. I doubt it, but I don't know. We'll see. It's a good fit for them, though. I mean, John Harbaugh does like to run the ball, though, a lot. So maybe that's kind of the part that doesn't fit because, McDaniel probably is like a high-flying passing offense type guy. And Harbaugh is the big tough guy who wants to run it down your throat 15, 20 times, or 30 times really. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with them. I mean, I'm not the biggest Mike McDaniel fan. Like the way he dresses, the way he acts, stuff like that. He's kind of a weirdo. Kind of seems like a tool. But yeah, we'll see what happens with them. Next thing I want to talk about was Baker Mayfield talking trash online about Kevin Stefanski. Someone tweeted online saying that they got rid of blah 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 blah. They got traded Mayfield and then they got Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, and it's never been good since then and stuff like that. And he never had a quarterback, as in Stefanski never had a quarterback. But which is true, he never had a quarterback. Mayfield was okay for that 1 year, but he wasn't that good. And then Mayfield's online saying, they traded me like I was a piece of trash. Still haven't had a call or a text from the coach. I can't wait to play him twice a year. And it's like, Mayfield, dude, calm down. You had a terrible year the year this year. The Panthers made it in the playoffs over you. The Panthers. The Falcons ranked higher than them in their division. They were third in their division. In the worst conference in the NFL. You have no room to talk, buddy. None. Zero. And I like Mayfield. I'm a Mayfield guy. He had a terrible year. And at this rate, the Falcons will beat him. The Falcons already beat them once this year with Raheem Morris as their terrible terrible head coach. He's a terrible coach, awful, and they beat him with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is 800 years old and can barely play quarterback now. He's terrible. So if I was Mayfield, I'd probably shut up and realize that we might lose this year. Uh, um, he's just not good enough to be talking smack like that. He's not a top 10 quarterback. He's not a top 15 quarterback right now. Asked me a year ago, he would have been top 15 quarterback. And the way the start of the year was great, but they just fell off and he played terrible, awful down the stretch. So yeah, I don't think he has any room to talk. I thought it kind of bothered me. That's why I want to talk about it. Stefanski's a way better coach. Would you rather have Kevin Stefanski or Baker Mayfield? And that's 11 times out of 10, I would choose Kevin Stefanski. Mayfield just not the guy, not the answer right now. Another thing I want to talk about, which we talked about before a long time ago, was a little college basketball minute here. Someone named Charles Bediako, I can't say his last name. I've never been able to say it. Charles Bediako. He played for Alabama a couple years ago. He was a good player. He was a center, a big guy. He was all right. And then he played in the NBA. He never played actually in the pros, but he played in the G League, which is, if you don't know, like the minor leagues of pro basketball. But he was trying to come back to college basketball. They wouldn't let him, so he sued them, and then they let him play. Now they folded and let him play after the NCAA said that they finally won't let guys that do that anymore. If you leave college basketball, you're done. But they let this guy come back and play. Makes no sense to me. And now after seeing that, a lot of other players want to explore their options again. The NCAA and Charlie Baker, old Massachusetts governor or mayor, he's a loser. But he wanted to not let these pros and other players come back and send out this whole thing and this whole tweet and stuff like that. They won't let players, but clearly that's not true. They're letting players come back in, and I think that's going to ruin the sport. I think it's going to hurt the sport a lot. There's just no rules. Anybody can do what they want. Pretty soon, someone who's 28 years old is going to be coming back to college basketball. I can just see it happening. I know it will happen. But yeah, I'm a huge college basketball fan. College basketball is my number two sport other than football, pro and NFL. Pro in college. It's definitely college basketball. I think it's way better than the NBA, way more entertaining than the NBA. NBA is just a pageant show for, players. It's not even fun to watch. But this is a way to try to ruin the sport. You can't be having players that are playing against pros come back to school when they left school. It's ridiculous, and they can just sue and come back in because they don't want to deal with it. Come on, that's not fair. That's not right, especially in the middle of the season. You can't. Why are you letting players come back in the middle of the season? This is not the pros. This is not. You can't just sign somebody or trade for somebody in college basketball. You have your roster. Deal with it. If you don't like your roster, that's your problem. You address it in the offseason. You can't be having these players come back or call players that are pro and stuff like that and come back. It's just not working. And it's funny, ever since Baylor did it with that guy, the old first-round pick, James Najayi. It's funny they've lost every game except one game against Oklahoma State. So they've been 1-5 since he came to the pros. Maybe it's bad karma. Maybe it's the basketball god saying, "Hey, this is not right." I do believe in that. But yeah, I just don't think it's good for the sport. I think it hurts the sport a lot, and it's not good for it. But yeah, and I also saw a story today of Jeannie Buss back in 2022 almost traded LeBron to the Clippers because he was sick of his ego, his attitude, and he was sick of this narrative that he was the savior of the franchise, even though this franchise was a good franchise before LeBron. And then you saw these reports recently coming out of they're not happy with his agent Rich Paul, who pretty much just speaks to LeBron, go on a podcast and talk a lot of smack about Austin Reeves and all this stuff like that. And I don't know. I hope LeBron gets traded just because, it doesn't make him look very good. I'm not a pro LeBron guy. I think he's kind of a loser in a I don't know how to put this respectfully, but I think you know what I want to say. But yeah, it's crazy to see they almost did that, and I think they should have done that. But now they have this new ownership group who Sounds like they're not very happy with LeBron. So I wonder what happens with him. I mean, this year might be his last year anyways, but maybe he gets traded, but I don't know. Just want to talk about that quickly, but yeah, just a quick episode today. I just want to get some content out there and talk about some thoughts I had on this stuff, because sometimes if I wait, this stuff either escapes my mind or something changes or something like that. So just a quick episode today, but like, subscribe, share with your friends, comment, do the whole thing, sharing your stories, stuff like that. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. I can keep on it. I'm going to keep sending these out. But yeah, have a good rest of your week. Yeah, have a good one. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.